Hello, everyone. My guest today is David Gutelius. He is the CEO and founder of a company called Motiva.ai, partner at venture studio The Data Guild. David is a serial entrepreneur. Previously, he founded Social Kinetics, which was sold to Red Brick Health, and Proximal Labs, which was sold to Jive Software. He served as chief social scientist at Jive and part of the team that took Jive to an IPO in 2011. He began his career as a program manager for DARPA's Callo, the largest machine learning project funded by the US government. Today, he's an active early stage investor and advisor. David, are you ready to take us to the top?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's talk about the company. What do you guys do and what's your revenue model?
Motiva is all about using machine learning at scale to help our customers, both on the B2B side and B2C side, develop deeper relationships with customers. So at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is use AI to create trust between humans. That's really what we're up to.
Any sector focus or anyone?
Really anyone. What we're finding is we're having some really great success in healthcare and life sciences around patient engagement, but it really goes across all sectors and verticals. It's pretty interesting.
Give me an example of healthcare. So let's dive deep onto that use case for a second. How would a healthcare provider use you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you could use us in a number of different ways, but one way would be on the kind of patient acquisition side. So provider system looking to get the right patients in the door. We can help them identify who those folks are and develop messaging strategies that really appeal to those people in a deeper, more personal way. And that's really kind of the secret sauce, is to use learning to personalize and engage folks in a much more meaningful way.
But this is all happening pre-sale, not post-sale.
Correct. Yeah. That use case is pre-sale, but you could think of kind of staying with healthcare. More of a patient engagement use case. So they've seen the doc already, and now it's time for a follow-up, and we can be in the middle of that exchange, not necessarily with humans in the mix, but with machines kind of driving the communication between the back and forth between the patient and provider. And again, using the learning to optimize how we engage that patient. So the whole point is to kind of deepen that relationship over time, keep those patients or customers, depending on the vertical, engaged, and growing that relationship in terms of not just sort of personal human depth, but also the revenue as well.
So I imagine my audience, when they're hearing this, they're going, okay, wait, like it's kind of marketing engagement to drive a sale, and then engagement post-sale to drive activation and maybe expansion revenue. And they might think, well, like we use outreach for this or something like that. How would you be different than like what Manny is building at Outreach?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way to think about us is kind of a brain for those outreach type platforms. We hook into the major marketing automation engines like Eloqua, like Responsus, all those sorts of traditional modes of actually reaching out and engaging folks at some level. The difference with Motiva, though, is really that we're using some new generation machine learning to understand what strategies work, understand what strategies don't, do more of the stuff that works all automatically for you. So it's really about trying to scale kind of human teams' ability to connect with their end audiences. That's kind of the bottom line.
And it sounds like you have a lot of different cohorts you're working with here, but what would you say on average, right, a brand or a customer is paying you to use this technology?
Sorry, can you rephrase that?
Yeah, sure. I'm simply asking average ACV, right? I'm sure you have a lot of different cohorts, but on average, what's the company pay to use this?
Oh, right. So it's anywhere from on the low side, about $20,000 a year, all the way up to a couple of million.
Okay. And I assume you probably have power laws. The biggest customers make up, call it 40, 50% of the revenue in some cases. But would you say, average is closer to 30, 40K per year?
Average, I would say, is probably about 50.
About 50. Okay, fairly healthy. So that's enough of a price point where you can kind of afford to put touch on the sale and kind of have an inside sales machine. Do you have an inside sales machine? What's your acquisition look like?
Yeah, so the acquisition model is very savvy, using some of our own technology to identify the right kinds of customers and kind of nurture them through on an account basis. So it is in that sense, a traditional enterprise sales model. It's a B2B. The inside sales team is me, because we're scrappy and tiny.
How many people total right now?
So we've got 9 total.
I love that. Small and scrappy. That's great. And put this on a timeline for us. When did you launch?
So we launched in 16, but we stayed stealth for about 18 months and came out in 17. So we've only been out for more or less a year or so.
And the whole team's in Reno?
No, we're split all over the place. We've got a couple of folks in Japan. We've got folks in Toronto, Canada, and the Bay Area, and I'm the sole operator.
Okay. So not nine remote. That's good. Total freedom.
That's
And
right.
what have you guys, so over the past, call it year, what have you scaled to in terms of total customers using the platform?
We don't really talk about that. We're a little bit still under the covers there, but it's a couple dozen.
Okay, couple dozen.
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Okay, very good. And walk me through getting these first customers. So you mentioned obviously you're kind of the inside sales machine. How are you training kind of your Motiva brain to figure out what kind of accounts to go after?
Yeah, so it's a lot about identifying characteristics that we think are good fits, especially where we are as a company early on. So as a founder, kind of serial founder, what I've found is that, personally reaching out, once we've identified kind of a cohort to go after, really personally reaching out as a founder CEO and establishing a trusting relationship, and then building on that sort of basis of early, more progressive customers to both understand what is working in our product and maybe what still needs some work, and then also where to go next in terms of outreach to new customers. So it's a very kind of hands-on model.
Mm-hmm. Have you bootstrapped this, or have you decided to raise capital?
We bootstrapped it for about a year and then decided that we needed some growth capital injected. So we did a very small round in 16, just essentially with folks that I knew. And we've been growing organically ever since.
Okay, so how much total in the company to date?
We don't talk about that either.
Okay, well, why not? Out of curiosity.
The venture capital market loves to gossip about these things, and we like to just keep it quiet and keep it modest until we're ready to publicize that sort of information.
Yeah, by the way, I actually, if you listen to my interviews, we've interviewed about 3,000 B2B SaaS CEOs. I actually much more appreciate a bootstrap story versus a funded one. So it sounds like you feel like I'm judging you because you might not have a sexy headline that you've raised $20 million at $1 billion valuation. I'm generally just curious to get to a couple dozen customers and the stage you're at today, how much you've raised to do that. I mean, are we talking a couple, less than $1 million or less than 10? Can you give me a range?
Oh yeah, it was around $1 million for our seed round. Yeah,
that's great. And yeah, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. Talk to me too. I mean, you're only caught a year and a half in, but churn's critical in any SaaS company. How do you think about your churn?
Very good question. So what we like to do, just in terms of the product itself and the way that it's designed, is create experiences on the customer side where it is really well aligned with the user's careers themselves, if that makes sense. So really the way that we think about the product is almost an extension of the human marketer for us, an augmentation of kind of what they're able to do. So we love making them heroes. And the way that we've designed the product is all about giving them confidence sort of in what we do in terms of the marketing optimization, but also in the sense of allowing them to demonstrate impact in their organization. So we pay a lot of attention to metrics and a lot of attention to very easy to understand reporting that they can kind of review internally with their stakeholders, whether it's their boss or their larger organization or peers. So it's really, for us, we think about churn as how do we build relationships for our main stakeholders on the other end of that table, and really think about that as a relationship that we nurture in a very personal way.
Oh, and David, just to push harder here, I mean, your ability to deliver on all those goals you just so articulately delivered is measured by churn. So what is your churn today, and how do you continue to drive that down?
Oh, so the actual churn is 0. We haven't lost a single customer.
Any downgrades?
No.
Okay.
The way that we price would make it difficult to kind of downgrade. You're either kind of on the platform or you're off.
Okay.
So it's based on the number, essentially the size of the audience that you're dealing with in terms of marketing and outreach.
Literally number of contacts is a pricing axis?
Exactly. That's right.
What other pricing axes do you use?
That's it. It's full IO, whatever data you need to support that level of outreach. It's all about the unique number of people you're trying to reach out to in your audience.
Mm-hmm. So because you've had no gross revenue churn, obviously your net revenue retention, if you have any expansion, is going to be above 100%. How far above 100% are you today? Are we talking like 110 or 150 or higher?
We're probably 140 off the top of my head. Yeah, 130, 140.
And what does that mean to you in terms of a signal that you have no churn? The obvious one is, oh, that's great. It's a healthy company. But you could argue the other side very easily and say, well, you're priced too cheaply.
Yeah, I think that's right. And as an entrepreneur, I always worry about that is kind of where are we really hitting our sweet spot? The thing that I guess I've come to realize is just it's early enough where we want to get points on the board. We want to make sure we can tell those really compelling stories to new customers down the road. So I don't mind, the case if it's in early days, we're mispriced a little bit. We'll figure that out as we go. It's really about those relationships and the stories we tell out of these, first days.
Yep. And help me understand, you've been through this a few times, so you understand trends and cycles and aggressive versus pullback. How aggressive are you being right now in terms of acquiring new customers? And let's, for the sake of the example, use your average of a $50,000 ACV. What would you spend to acquire that customer?
Oh, not much. It's really about very personal outreach. I would say it's probably total
fully weighted.
400, $500
okay
for that customer. Now I don't have a sales force, so that's a big
well, you look at you and your salary, right? If you're doing inside sales, you're taking demos, calls, flying around, you're including your salary into that as well.
Yeah, that's okay. About right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really healthy. So why not spend more to drive growth? That's a really healthy payback period.
Yeah, because we want to get the product right. This is what's a little bit different.
You have no churn, David.
No, but that's not the question. It's really about the machine learning product itself. And in my experience, this has been one of the biggest challenges in creating kind of machine learning products that scale massively. So we're still in the early days of trying to figure out what's going to work, both from a kind of pure deep technology perspective and sort of the problems that we're solving. And we really need to get that mix right in order to make sure that we can support the level of growth that we'd like to get to. So it's really about just making sure that mix is right before we expand and really put it into the top of the funnel, really drive that shape of that funnel in a different way.
But David, something though about the feedback here loop isn't matching up, because what you just told me is you feel like you're not totally efficient yet. There are still things you can work on. However, You're not churning any customers. So what signals are you using to figure out if you're doing right or doing wrong?
So the main signal that I'm using right now is just how long it takes to land a customer. So the length of the sales cycle.
Which is what?
It's generally about 8 months to get from beginning to end. And then I think the onboarding process of helping customers really get used to everything that they can do with Motiva. So that's a design question. It's an onboarding question. And this is again, something I've faced over and over again with machine learning products before is making sure that design is right so that customers can really be as independent as possible. And I would say we still got stuff to lock down on that side to make sure that onboarding is right, make sure that those teams really can use the product in the way it was intended. So there's still some learning that we need to do, I think, there.
David, my audience is not going to understand an 8-month sales cycle at a $500 CAC. If you have an 8-month sales cycle, you're talking thousands in CAC. Help me understand that.
Yeah. Well, it's to do with, I think, the decision that I've made to not go kind of mass market and really tailor the early customers to kind of the best value customers that we can have as a company right now, which is, particular kinds of customers that have a mix of, in our case, kind of marketing ops professionals who can really use the product and really exercise its power. So what we've done is kind of throttle that back, not spend a lot on kind of acquiring the revenue, and really try to get the product to a state where we can scale it.
But you're the only, just to be clear though, you're the only one doing sales internally, correct? Yeah. David, I just want to make sure I understand this. You're the only one doing sales internally, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes, if you're including, if you added 30, you said a couple dozen, let's assume it's 36, right? So it'll be aggressive. 36 customers. There's no way you're including whatever you're paying yourself in that fully weighted CAC cost. You're basically looking at that, and either you're not paying yourself and you look at it as sweat equity because you've had exits in the past, and that's why your CAC is so low. Is that fair?
Yeah, I have a low salary, that's for sure.
Yeah, but even if it's as low as $50,000, right? And you've spent your time adding 36 customers, 36 into 50,000, that's $1,500 in CAC right there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I don't have time to go after that level of customer right now. And I've got, other duties as CEO, including running product and
what do you mean that level of customer?
That number of customers at once, why we've kind of throttled back and not gone off after, more than basically the customer pipeline that we've got right now.
Well, your CAC,
taking it very slowly, very carefully.
Your CAC would be higher if you're going after less customers than 36 on the same salary. Let's say you're only going after 3 customers.
I'm saying that I can't handle that many, so I wouldn't.
I know that's feeding my point though. So let's assume that you were paying yourself a very low salary of $50,000 per year, and in an average year you don't handle 36. You can't handle that many. Let's say you only handle 10. That's a 5K CAC. That's actually a higher CAC. I'm just trying to understand. You're not including your personal salary or whatever you pay yourself in that fully weighted CAC number.
Yeah, I am. We pay virtually nothing besides my time. We do a little bit of advertising, a little bit of outreach on kind of sponsored blog posts, but that's the extent of it.
Yeah, but David, sorry, the math isn't adding up. $500 CAC, and let's say you're handling less than 30 new customers a year. If I take 30 customers times a $500 CAC, and assuming that CAC is only your salary, that's $15,000 per year in salary.
That's true. Yeah,
the math doesn't work. So where am I going wrong?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe we're spending a different amount than I have off the top of my head. It's not much, and it is only me. So
yeah, the reason I'm pushing so hard on this, by the way, is people build models around sales rep productivity. And usually the first sales rep is the founder. And I just want to make sure that I'm not giving them unrealistic expectations. There is no way, based on these numbers, that you're including whatever you're paying yourself in that CAC number, unless you're paying yourself $15,000 a year or lower.
Yeah, right. No, it's around 40K.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, so again, let's say you're only handling 30 customers on that. I mean, that would be a CAC that's much higher than $500. So you see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. No,
okay. Okay. Got it. Cool.
You're right.
I just want to make sure. I just thank you for clearing that up. I want to make sure I didn't miss that. Okay, so 9 people, remote. You're perfecting the system before you double down on kind of scaling. Less than $1 million raised at this point. Couple dozen customers, call it maybe 36. And you said earlier $50,000 kind of ACV average. That would put you at about $150,000 per month right now in revenue. Is that about right?
That's about right.
And what's growth look like? So take me back a year. What were you doing per month?
Growth probably between, again, kind of throttling it back. It's sort of engineered this way, but between 10 to 20%, just given the month.
Okay.
So trying not to add too many on per month, and just grow sustainably.
What's year over year though? So 150K today. Go back to November 2017. What were you doing that month?
So October 2017, that was when we first. That was when we first came out. So it was more like 70K.
Okay, good. So about maybe doubling year over year.
Yeah.
That's great. Fair enough. Good. All right, let's wrap up here with easier questions. Number 1, what's your favorite business book?
My favorite business book is Nudge by Richard Thaler.
It's a good one. Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying right now?
In terms of CEO, Roy Bahat, he's not a typical CEO, but Roy Bahat at Bloomberg Data.
Yeah. Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building your company?
Oh, gosh, Google Apps.
Yep. Number 4, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
I get 8.5 to 9.
Okay. And what's your situation? Married, single, kiddos?
Married, no kiddos.
No kids. And how old are you?
I am 47.
47 years young. Last question, David. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
To take it easy, not sweat so much, not stress so much. It all works out.
There you have it. Take it easy. Motiva, again, adding a brain behind your well-known outreach platforms like Outreach, SalesLoft, these kinds of things, using artificial intelligence to help drive that. Founded in 2016, now 9 people remote, about call it a couple dozen customers, doing about $150,000 per month right now in revenue. That's up doubled year over year. They're doing about $70,000 per month just a year ago. Average ACV, especially first year, is about $50,000, but they're expanding that contract value quickly. Net revenue retention annually about 140% as people add more contacts into the platform. David, thank you so much for taking us to the top.
Hey, thanks, Nathan. Have a good one.